Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another installment of Weekend Update. From very high above, all the insipid and impercipient forms of Wyoming mainstream media, this is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the depths of the Middle Swamp in Wyoming's capital of Cheyenne. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. I'm back. Well, almost back. This weekend, the lovely Christine and I drove down to the Middle Swamp to attend a Charlie Kirk event that was put on by the Wyoming Freedom Caucus and the Turning Point USA chapter at the University of Wyoming. It was a benefit to raise funds for that chapter to continue their work at our land-grant university. Before I get too much into that, I suppose I should give you some updates from our hunting adventure over the week. It's actually pretty incredible when you think about it. You see elk all summer long in gigantic herds, and then once October 15th hits, you may see one or two every once in a while. Now, we did see a small herd of elk. The problem is they were about 1,000 yards away, and I am not one of those people that's going to take a shot from that distance. But to tell you the truth, I really couldn't care less about the elk. I got to spend 4 days with my dad, just me and him at the cabin. Though I'm 47 years old, and perhaps some of you feel this way too, but every time I get to hang out with my dad when it's just me and him, it feels very much the same as it did 35 years ago. But having missed 4 days of the week, I'm glad to be back behind the microphone. The event last night was widely publicized on social media. If you're in the news business, it would be very difficult not to know that it was going on. But the entire night, the only media type that aside from myself, of course, but the only media type I saw there was KGWN's Wyoming politics reporter, and she was only there for about 10 or 15 minutes. Now, come to find out, there was somebody from the cow pie there, though they obviously didn't pay attention to what was going on, and they were only in attendance to further their narrative of infighting in the Laramie County Republican Party. But I'll get to their yellow journalism piece in just a second. Now, don't misunderstand me. There's no world in which I thought the Wyoming media would actually show up and cover an event where a bunch of Republicans got in a room and prayed. And why would they do that? It goes against their entire narrative of painting every conservative in this state of trying to destroy everything that is good about Wyoming. They can't afford for you to think, even for the smallest of moments, that the Wyoming Freedom Caucus is anything other than what they portray them. It's a very carefully crafted and yet incredibly fragile narrative that they've spent a heck of a lot of time putting together. The truth is, though of course you wouldn't know this if you just listened to the media, but there's been at least a couple of events very recently that showed exactly who Republicans are. And before I go any further, I guess I should further define that. I'm not talking about redcoats that just claim to be Republicans. No, you wouldn't have seen very many of those at all at any of these events. One example in particular is the chairman of the Wyoming Republican Party, Brian Miller, didn't even show up at his own county's Reagan Day dinner, which was held last Saturday. And if you are unfamiliar, the Reagan Day dinner in Sheridan is this time of year's big event for northeastern Wyoming. It probably goes without saying, but he wasn't at last night's event either. But he wasn't alone in that. The Wyoming media didn't bother to stick their head in that room either. Oh well, their loss on both accounts. However, you won't find any shortage of articles written about this weekend's so-called No Kings protest. It's still ironic to me. These Wyoming Democrats think that they're protesting so we don't have a king. But if we actually had a king, they wouldn't be able to protest anyway. It's not my fault that if you're a Democrat or a redcoat, there's a high likelihood that you're just simply brain damaged. I'll get to them in a little bit, but first, I wanted to give you a sneak peek into both of these events, just so you have an idea of what went on. In Sheridan, Agent 29 was asked to sing the national anthem. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that he actually has a pretty good singing voice. Here, take a listen.
Now I'd like to invite Ken Pendergrass, State Representative for House District 29, up this evening. He's going to sing our national anthem. Please join me in welcoming Representative Pendergrass.
I should mention that I have been asked to sing 2 verses this evening. I'll be singing the first and the fourth stanzas, so it's not over till it's over. Ooh, that's how it starts. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that Star Spangled Banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, thus be it ere the freemen shall stand between their loved home and the war's desolation, blessed with victory and peace. May the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Then conquer we must, for our cause it is just, and this be our motto: in God is our trust, and the Star-Spangled Banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Did you even know that there's more than one verse to the Star Spangled Banner? Of course, it was I, your illustrious host, that asked Ken to sing both verses. And he did a fantastic job. As I was telling you all last week, my friend Ovi Muntean was the keynote speaker, and to get him warmed up was the producer of the movie Whose Children Are They?, Deborah Flora. It's a great movie if you've never watched it, but both of them did a fantastic job, and the evening, I think, was a great success. Now, I didn't count, but I would say that there was every bit of 300 people in the room. But to my knowledge, I was the only media person there. Maybe at some point I'll play the entire evening for you so you can hear exactly what went on. It really was a great event. If you ask me, one of the coolest parts of it was the auction. One of the bigger items that was up for sale was the flag that was flying over the Capitol when Donald Trump was inaugurated, the 47th President of the United States. The flag that was flying. I have no idea how she pulled it off, but Senator Cynthia Lummis was able to get her hands on it. While the lovely Christine and I would have loved to have been the proud new owners of it, we definitely didn't have deep enough pockets to bring that home. But anyway, it was a great event, and you didn't hear anything from the media in Sheridan about it. Or from anywhere else, for that matter. Despite all of the Redcoats' attempts at sabotage, the dinner raised a heck of a lot of money for the Sheridan County Republican Party. Just a quick aside note, you'll notice that I haven't mentioned exactly who those people were that were trying to destroy the dinner, but if you push me, I definitely will tell you. But anyway, moving on. Last night's event also raised a heck of a lot of money for Turning Point USA at the University of Wyoming. I'll let you in on what he had to say in just a second. But first, let's get a word in from our sponsors. Today's installment of Cowboy State Politics is brought to you by Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. Have you mistakenly moved to the most Democrat county in Wyoming, and now you think that you actually do want to move to the Cowboy State? To do that, you're going to need a real estate agent that you can trust. And that agent is Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She's got her fingers on the pulse of the real estate market all across the state of Wyoming. She sold everything from small residential properties all the way up to big giant ranches. So it doesn't matter what type of property you're looking for, give Rebecca a call. Her phone number is 307-699-3519. 307-699-3519. Weekend Update is also brought to you by Morton Buildings. I really hate to break it to you, but that white crap is about to be flying everywhere, and all of the things that you spent your hard-earned money on to play with during the summer are about to be covered up with snow. Now, you could have prevented all of this simply by calling Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. They're the experts in metal building construction. They've been doing it longer than anybody else around, and they do a much better job. It doesn't matter if you're thinking about a garage or maybe something bigger, like a roping arena or perhaps even a giant warehouse for your business. Call Marcos and Jesse. Their phone number is 307-674-2532, or you can check them out at their website, mortonbuildings.com. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the program. That way you can be notified every single time there's a brand new episode of Cowboy State Politics. To do that, go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. Are you tired of giving your advertising money to companies that don't exactly line up with your values? That's a lot like throwing your money down the drain and helping out the people that really despise you. You should stop doing that. Instead, you should consider advertising on Cowboy State Politics. I've got a statewide platform. This is the most listened to podcast in the entire state of Wyoming, and nobody is going to beat my advertising rates. Since January, this program has over 500,000 views on social media. There's nobody else that can make that claim. So to get that conversation started, shoot me an email. The address is david@cowboystatepolitics.com. What are you waiting for? Stop helping the people that use your money against you and send me an email. david@cowboystatepolitics.com. And now, back to the program. At the event, here's what President of the Turning Point Chapter at UW, Gabe Saint, had to say.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight and supporting my TPUSA chapter. My name is Gabe Saint. I'm a Wyoming native. I'm from Lewis, Wyoming. I just graduated undergraduate last year at UW. I've been running the TPUSA chapter for 4 years now. Now I'm in my first semester of law school. Like Jesse, I am one of the many who Charlie deeply affected. I met Charlie 3 years ago at a fundraiser in Jackson, Wyoming, where he sat down for an hour with my best friend and I, Noah Scott, who's right here. He's my boy. And we were really struggling running the Turning Point chapter. When we met Charlie, he really encouraged us to keep fighting and to bring the fight to UW, and that's what we did. We've been doing it for a long time, and campus has changed radically. And it was in large part due to Charlie's mentorship. By God's providence, Charlie always, for some reason, was always in our lives, always checking in on us, giving us resources and support when we needed it. When we didn't know how to solve a particular political issue, he'd send us like a file, and he'd make us read it. But he always gave us resources and support. Under my leadership, TPUSA UW has grown to be a powerhouse organization in the state. My sophomore year, I sat on the university's free speech committee, where I helped put in place UW's free speech protections, rendering UW one of the best universities for free speech in the country, according to the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression. In October 2023, we hosted Riley Gaines on campus, which to this day is her biggest college campus event she's ever done. I've had the privilege of speaking around the state of Wyoming and around the country, pushing the envelope on issues that matter most to young conservatives, trying to bridge the gap in generations. In December 2024, as we mentioned, at TPUSA's America Fest, Charlie Kirk awarded me the Student Patriot of the Year out of 500 USA students for the work my chapter and I have done on campus. In April 2025, we hosted Charlie at UW. It was a dream come true. Everything we did led up to that moment on campus. 1,800 people came, 1,600 being students. 25% of the student body signed up for that event. And other than the Trump rally a couple years ago, that's the biggest political event in Wyoming that's happened in recent memory. So we're doing awesome things because of Charlie. Charlie is in heaven now, and I have more courage than ever to keep fighting on campus. I know he's watching over me and my students. I know that I have all the support of all of you. Sometimes I feel pretty isolated in Laramie, but when I leave Laramie and I get to see all you, it's just so worth it because our state's worth it and our people are worth it. So I thank you all, and I ask to continue to fight for our state, for our country, and for Christ the King. Thank you.
Now, if you'd like to watch the entire event, I streamed the whole thing, including dinner, to the Cowboy State Politics Facebook page. So if you want to watch the entire thing and all the speakers, there was a great panel from the Wyoming Freedom Caucus that just talked about Turning Point USA, free speech, and some of their work in the legislature. So, want to watch the whole thing? Cowboy State Politics Facebook page. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Cowpie did print an article kind of about last night's event, but the only reason why they were there, and it's obvious if you read the piece, is to further their crappy narrative that there's infighting going on in the Laramie County Republican Party. And why wouldn't there be? Lorraine Korberg is clearly not a conservative, and she has been trying to, well, I don't know exactly what other word you could use, but sabotage any conservative effort that might be happening in Laramie County. Several Laramie County precinct members have told Cowboy State Politics that Lorraine Korberg has canceled a number of county central committee meetings, sometimes with very little notice. Lorraine Korberg wasn't a conservative when she was in the legislature, and she certainly isn't one now. To the Cowpie, in an article entitled Charlie Kirk Takes Center Stage at Conflicting Wyoming Republican Fundraisers. And I quote, just get a load of this, they were clearly not there, or weren't there for very long anyway, to report what happened. But just to further their narrative, listen to this. Quote, conflicting Republican Party fundraisers on Friday night forced party members to make tough decisions about how to spend their time and where to show their support. Both events were on opposite sides of Cheyenne and started within a half hour of each other. While the conflicting events have been a point of contention within the party for weeks, honoring Charlie Kirk's legacy was prominent at both. The Freedom Caucus hosted its Kirk Memorial event to raise money for the University of Wyoming's Turning Point USA chapter, while Laramie County GOP held its annual Red State Rendezvous dinner and fundraiser. Both events come at a time of critical importance for the county and state parties. Linda Heath, who serves as the Laramie County Commissioner and Precinct Committeewoman, told the Cowpie, Cowboy State Daily, earlier this month that the county party was left nearly bankrupted by several recent high-dollar events and needs an influx of cash. When asked about the conflicting fundraisers Friday, Heath told the Cowpie, even if the Kirk fundraiser impacts how much is raised by the Red State Rendezvous, quote, we're going to have more fun than they do, end quote. Though Jackson Walker in the Cowpie makes a backhanded attempt to tell readers sort of what happened at the Charlie Kirk event or the Turning Point USA event, he ends his piece this way. In a section entitled Simmering Feud, Walker rehashes not what actually happened at the events, but the Cowpie's previous reporting of text messages between Dallas Terrell and Linda Heath. The last line of the piece is, quote, if we can't have civil conversation and civil discussion, the legislative process dies. And that's not good for Wyoming, and it's not good for the people of Wyoming, and it's not good for any organization, political or not, Heath said, end quote. Obviously, The Cowpie's intention was not to tell readers what actually happened at either event. Heaven forbid that you know that there's good things going on in any county or city. But rather, the whole point in their reporting is just to further their narrative about the infighting that's happening within the Laramie County Republican Party. To that I say, of course there is. And it's a good thing. More often than not, the Laramie County Republican Party has been dominated by redcoats. I'd rather not dwell on the leadership of Danny Olson, but it's a perfect example. She made it her personal mission to quash any sort of conservative uprising in Laramie County. The last 2 or 3 years, we had a brief respite with the leadership of Taft Love and Dallas Terrell, who were able to get the Laramie County Republican Party back in good standing with the state party. For years on end, under Danny Olson, the Laramie County Republican Party refused to pay the state what they owed. It amounted to thousands and thousands of dollars. In addition to that, Danny Olson and the Redcoats repeatedly violated their own bylaws to keep Redcoats in control. That resulted in Laramie County Republicans not being represented at the state convention in the numbers that they should have been. Under the leadership of Taft Love and Dallas Terrell, all of that has been fixed. But now, Redcoat Lorraine Korberg is the chairman of the Laramie County Republican Party, and those Redcoats are back to their old tricks. So why wouldn't the Cowpie report on all of the friction that is now once again happening in the Laramie County Republican Party? Instead of being honest about what the actual friction is about, and that is conservatism versus redcoats, Jackson Walker wants you to believe that it's merely about two opposing events. While I'm sure that plays into it, it's really not the whole story, and it's definitely not the whole story of what happened last night at the office in Cheyenne. They want you to believe that, in their words, it was counter-programming, that it just furthers the, quote, simmering feud between Korberg and Dallas Terrell. If you were just looking at it from the outside, you would assume that that's exactly what it was. But to conclude that that's all that it was means that you just didn't listen to what happened at the event. That Jackson Walker and the Cowpie went into it with their own idea of what their story was going to be. It wouldn't surprise me a bit if they already had the story written well before anything happened last night. They probably just left a little space so they could insert some quotations from some of the event's attendees and then hit the publish button. But again, none of this should surprise anybody. There's way more publicity about the No Kings protests that are happening all over the state today than anything that the Republican Party is doing. Maybe, if we get bored while we're in Cheyenne, the lovely Christine and I will make our way down to the Capitol just to see what's happening there. Or maybe not. Well, that'll do it for today's installment of Weekend Update. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday. But for now, from the depths of the Middle Swamp in Wyoming's capital of Cheyenne, I'm David Iverson, and this is the one and only Cowboy State Politics.